What's up, everyone? This is Zikomo.
This is Wallace. Welcome back, man.
Welcome back to the Just 10 Pages podcast. It's been a minute.
It's been a little while.
It's been a minute. We've both been working on some things, but me in particular, I guess I'm the one that's been holding things back. I just started a new business actually last month, because today's November the 1st. And I've just been grinding to get to that point. It took a lot. I got my website up. Name of the business is called More
I was going
Content.
to say, we got to say what it's called. If it's taking that much time, what's it called?
Yeah, the name of the business is called More Content, and to simply put it, it is an Indeed for videographers and photographers here in Atlanta. So if you're looking for somebody with those type of skill sets in Atlanta, hit me up, and I can not only post it on my job board to my community, but I can help you in choosing the right person for that job. And I have my own database of about 20 plus photographers and videographers, and it's growing by the day. And I just want to help people achieve the visual look that they want to help communicate their business in the way that they want to their audience. So hit me up. It's called More Content.
Hey, look, I know we're going to end up talking about something that I did, but define more content, because that's an enticing title or name. Why is it called More Content?
So More Content, the reason why I called it More Content is because there is a heavy demand for businesses, brands, influencers to push out content to their audience. Mm-hmm. So More Content is it's actually a impulse, and the way I was able to personify it was like these lips kind of yelling, to kind of signal just the insatiable need that people's following or their customers, are wanting to kind of learn more, or they're wanting more content. So that's why I call it More Content, because there's just a heavy demand for companies, brands, influencers to just produce more. And I am here to help people with that.
Man, I just got a vision of like say you put out a commercial for More Content, and at the end of it, it fades to the logo with the mouth, and all you hear is like 100 people. We want more. We want more. We want more, as it fades out.
Yeah,
that sounds. I can see that.
Eventually, I want the name of the company to be one name, and the name is going to be More. Yeah. It's just going to be more.
Perfect.
Yeah. But, right now, More Content, because no one knows of the company. The content kind of just lets people know what this is about.
Right.
But eventually it's going to be more. But right now I'm going through the building process of just getting out, networking, finding or sourcing talent. That's what they say in the recruiting space, sourcing and finding talent. And that's a lot of work.
I can imagine
going out here and finding the business and just trying to develop it from the ground up. It's a lot, but I think it's worthwhile. And this time next year, I'm expecting to have grown the company enough to where I can do that full time. That's a goal that I have myself. I got some more detailed goals, but eventually that's what I want at October next year.
Get up out the rat race, man.
Get up out of slavery. I'm escaping.
Hey, look, that too. Find your North Star and chase it.
Yeah. And when I say slavery, I don't mean in the sense of, working for someone is a slavery, but when you're doing something that you feel like you can't get away from and it's not what you want to do, that can be your slavery. Everybody can have their own thing.
Yeah.
So just because you work for somebody, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and you can call getting away from your slavery, getting out of your prison, whatever that confinement is, to you can't step out and be yourself and be freely yourself in the world and have to rely on somebody else's time to live.
Yeah.
That's your prison, your slavery, your whatever word you want to put in there.
Yeah. Insert your word. But I guess for me, I've always had a difficulty with somebody telling you you're worth this amount.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of demeaning.
Your time is worth this amount.
Yeah, you're worth this amount right here.
Yeah.
So And when you feel like you have a plan and the skill sets to generate more than that, I think you should take a chance on yourself like Wallace did and Underrated.
That's a great way to transition.
Yeah. So today, I wanted to sit down and have a conversation with Wallace about his book called Underrated. We have talked about 4 or 5 different books, but I'm sitting here with the author who just so happens to be a great friend of mine's, and I wanted to dive into his book and maybe not go into so much detail about it because I do want you guys to go and purchase it. I definitely think that the money is well spent, to go and support Wallace, but also it's a great story. But I just wanted to sit down and have a conversation to kind of get an idea of why he created it, what was going through his mind, the significance of it, and what he wants people to kind of walk away from after reading it, But I guess we can just start off by,
Well, first, real quick, man, and nobody was really with me when I first started writing this book, and I guess we'll probably end up saying that it took me 8 years to put this book out. But from where I started, for you to be able to say it's a great book, it's a great story, means a lot because I had to step deep inside of myself to become something that I didn't believe I could be. I grew up not really wanting to read, not really wanting to write, but this forced me to step into parts of myself that I used to run from. So the fact that you could say that it's a good book, it's a great story, that people can leave with going to the rest of their life with something after they read it, really means a lot. So I appreciate it, bro.
No problem. And I mean that honestly. One thing outside of just the messaging in the book that I noticed was just the story structure. I know some people don't really even notice. That's a very subtle thing, but just how you started off kind of with the end, and then you kind of went back in history to kind of tell us how you got there. And the only reason why I notice story structures because I work in videography and I used to. I don't do it anymore. I hire people to do that. But I used to work in do videography and film, and I would have to think about how can I make this engaging. And you have to be able to find ways to kind of give people what they want up front, but still leave them with a question in their mind of, how do we get here?
Right.
And you have to keep doing that throughout the book to keep people turning the pages.
Right.
So I think you did a great job just there. You definitely created a lot of curiosity, a lot of questions throughout the book. And for me, it also put me in a place of, self-reflection. I learned, one thing that I learned about you is that you are hyper aware and you are constantly seeking a truth so that you can continue on your progress to whatever success or your goal is.
Yeah.
It seems like you're always looking for that, and you're able to kind of turn things that may look like a setback or a negative, but you're able to kind of see some type of positive in it. But
it's funny you said that. We had a coach, one of the ones I talked about in the book, and one of his sayings was, a minor setback is a setup for a major comeback.
Yeah.
So something that seems like it's a negative in your life, look for what it's giving you, because life is always, like we talked about, life is always working for you. So even though it may feel bad today, what is that moment giving you? I remember days I would go out there with Milt, who was in the book, and I would have a terrible day. Like I couldn't catch the ball, I couldn't run a route. But okay, this is a day I need to refocus. I need to slow down. I need to make sure that my steps, I don't get my head up before my steps. Like things like that cause you to reflect. Like, all right, moving too fast. Let's just slow down and go back to the basics. And then you come out there and have a monster day the next day. But if you get trapped in, I had a bad day today, I'm terrible, I'm getting worse, and you put yourself in a hole, and it's hard to mentally come out of.
Okay, well, before we get there, I wanna take us back to the beginning.
Okay.
So in the beginning of the book, you start off by sharing us with the story of Wallace Miles, and not you, but your uncle,
Right.
and how the effect of you having his name. And you also delve into a little bit, you give us a glimpse of a little bit of your parents' story, your father and your mother, and the different adversities they had to overcome, and essentially turn those into strengths. And you noticing what your parents have sacrificed, right? And then you leave the reader with a question, what is your why? Now, that for me kind of, stopped me, because I mean, you put that in a book, and I'm trying to honestly read this, and get the most out of it. So I was questioning myself. I was like, what is my why? And of course, I could say, I want to help people.
Yeah.
I want to help people. And the way, and I enjoy teaching people new things. Both my parents, they weren't teachers in the sense of working in the educational field, but both my parents, they are part of a spiritual community, and they are leaders in that community. And ever since I can remember, on the weekends, they would go and have classes where they were teaching people from the community about what it means to be a part of the spiritual group, and all the different lessons and things like that. So I grew up as a child seeing that, not necessarily admiring or wanting to do that, but some of that skill set has kind of picked up with me. But if I'm being 100% honest in terms of my why and my motivation, I would say that it's more selfish, and it's based in vanity.
And
And
and honestly, that's okay to me.
and I mean, I guess it's okay.
Yeah.
But when I get down to the root of it, it's because I want the sense of a feeling of importance,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
And
And
most people, especially at the beginning of their journey, do.
yeah, yeah. And although I do want to help people, that is second to my ego and vanity.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and honestly, like the individual goals I've had in my life, yes, some of them have been, the primary was I want to be seen, I want to be heard, I want to be felt. I don't want to be a ghost in this space and time of my life. My overall goal that I've evaluated and looked through is definitely community rate driven, and more so family driven. It's trying to show that we as a family can become more. We come from whatever we came from.
When you say family, are you talking about like black family, or are you talking about like the Miles family?
So I consider the Miles family, but then my reach.
Okay.
So you will be considered my family. One of my friends are my
Okay.
family. So that the people that we can reach, the people that we can, I guess, typically physically see, I drive myself to make sure that we know that we have more and can be more. We're not stifled by where we were born, who we were born to, the circumstances that we grew in through. I want us to believe that we can be more. It might not be more content. One day it's gonna be more, but like the things that the community or society set on us, that's not our ceiling. So that's my overarching why. But when I started playing football, it was I want to be seen. I want to catch touchdowns. I want this. I want that. I want to get a scholarship. It was I.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess, and of course I know this, but it's a evolving thing.
For sure.
But I guess after kind of reading your story and how it came across to me, you gained a sense of purpose, because you kept saying, to be Wallace Miles, because of what he's accomplished and what he meant to the family, you felt a sense of I don't want to call it pressure, but you felt like I needed to live up to that. I couldn't just be anything.
So the way it was, because he died so young, he died at 19. So he didn't really have an opportunity to really experience life, to go out and do much past high school. I mean, he was a great swimmer in high school, but I mean, his life was snuffed out at 19. So I felt a weight of, I mean, and as simple as I can't fuck this up, because his life was taken away. I carry his name, and in my mind, at goddamn 8 years old, I was like, I'm a second chance. I'm the second opportunity for Wallace Miles to walk this earth. And I told a couple of my friends recently, I would shy away from certain instances in the streets because I was like, I can't take a chance on them calling my grandmother and telling her Wallace Miles is dead again. So I just felt that as I moved through life, it was a little pressure, but it was more, to me, a responsibility that I have to continue. I have to carry this name past this tragedy. Him dying in the streets of Baltimore can't be the end of Wallace Miles. And it showed itself a couple times in the story.
So my next question is, what is it about football? And the reason why I asked that, or not, before we go there, where do you think, what's your earliest memory of your competitive spirit or determination? I know for me, I can't remember exactly the age, but I always knew that I was fast.
Yeah.
And when I knew that I was fast, I would compete against people. I could beat them. So
Yeah.
wanting, that kind of like, put in me that, oh, I can win at this. I can win at something, and more important than that, the validation and camaraderie that I got around my from my peers and family members, that
Right.
kind of rewarded me and made me want to do it more and see if I could do it in other areas. What's your earliest memory of your competitive spirit or your determination?
They actually both come from baseball. One, I was playing t-ball, and the coach pitches the ball in t-ball, and I prided myself on being able to hit, and I was probably 4 years old, and I struck out.
Yeah.
And I struck out again, and I struck out again. I struck out 3 times in one t-ball game, and I'm the one that's supposed to be able to hit. Like, me and my dad are at the house throwing balls since I was 2 years old. I'm like, I'm supposed to hit the ball.
Why do you think you kept striking out?
I mean,
Do you think it was like pressure, or you were like nervous or something? Because you were.
I think because I can remember what happened after it. I can't necessarily remember each at bat, but I do know I carried a little bit of anxiousness when I got to the plate. Okay. So it was like, I want to hit a home run, or I got to get on base. Like, I always carried that in my head. Like, I got to get a big hit.
Did anybody tell you that you needed to do that?
I think society showed me that, because the way that, and I think you kind of mentioned it, is like when somebody got a great hit, everybody celebrates. When you got in t-ball, when you get a single, the stands erupt.
Yeah.
I got addicted to that feeling early. And it wasn't even necessarily that I got it. I saw somebody else get it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want that.
Yeah.
So that day, I was so mad at myself. I got in the back of my dad's pickup truck, and he had a little toolbox underneath. So I slid up underneath of it, a little 4-year-old, and I'm crying my eyes out.
Oh, you're 4.
I'm 4 years old, crying my eyes out because I didn't do good. My team won.
Yeah.
Somebody walked by, was like, "Dad, he crying." He's like, "They must have lost." My dad's like, "Nah, they won actually." But I'm just crying because I didn't do well to help my team.
Yeah.
And then the next time was another baseball instance where I think it was T-ball still. The coach pitched it to their guy, and he hit it in the outfield. And at 4 and 5 years old, kids are playing in the dirt, playing in ant piles, picking up grass. All of my outfielders are just not paying attention. So I'm the pitcher. I'm standing on the mound. I ran all the way to the fence because the dude hit the ball all the way to the fence.
Wow.
So
it must pop fly.
I think it was like just a line drive, and it just rolled all the way to the fence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a small field because it's T-ball.
Yeah.
I ran all the way to the fence, And I was like, I don't trust anybody on this team to catch this ball I'm about to throw. So I ran to the fence, and I ran all the way home to meet the guy who was running around the bases at home plate. And I dove, and it looked like I tagged him out, but they called him safe. But I was so driven, like, we got to get him out. And I don't trust nobody, so I'm going to do whatever it takes to get it. So I ran all the way to the outfield, to the fence, ran all the way to home plate. But that was just, I guess, what I had learned, that we got to do good in order to get the celebration. And that just ignited the competitiveness because I guess I wanted the applause.
That is very interesting because competition, my competitive spirit, it started from beating others, competing against someone, but yours, it sounded like everybody on your team was kind of sorry, or you didn't trust them at least.
Yeah.
And you were kind of competing for, the attention. You wanted to be recognized.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So back to my last question about what it is about football, because when you guys read the book, you're gonna see that he held on to this dream when his parents said that, hey, you can't play football until you're in high school. When his high school coach didn't have the vision of him being a wide receiver, he only saw him playing as a kicker. And even after he graduated and he didn't get the scholarships that he was expecting to go to college, and he had to walk on. So what is it about football that made you so passionate that you couldn't let it go?
I think it still goes back to the response to society, our community gives it. I remember, like, growing up watching Barry Sanders, and I tell people I was 2. I mean, I'm at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I was watching that guy, Barry Sanders, play, and he just drove me. Like, I was like, I want to be him. And it wasn't even like, he wasn't the flashiest guy, like, when he scored or anything. He did his job. He made amazing plays, and the world loved him. And I was like, I want to be that. And as I grew, I saw our community pushing those guys, like, and we'll talk about them, pushing Cam to the forefront, pushing those guys that are football players that were doing well to the forefront. And I was like, I just got kind of drawn to it. And then when I finally got a chance, because I would be in the backyard catching passes from my dad all the time. So it was cool to do that. That was fun. I wanted to play every time. There was a street, there was a backyard, there was wherever I wanted to play. But when I got a chance to actually play, it was the first thing that really, truly tested me. Like, I played soccer. I was normally the best player on the soccer field. I played baseball. I was normally one of the best players on the baseball field. I played basketball. I really wasn't the best on a team, but I could hold my own whenever I go play one-on-one or 21 somewhere. So I felt, it's not that hard. But when I stepped on a football field, it was like, you ain't nothing out here. Like, everybody's stronger than you. Everybody's faster than you. Most people weren't quicker than me, but people have experience. They know how the game play. They know how to read plays and go out there and do them. Like, everything was brand new. It was like an infant standing out there. And I was like, this is what I wanted. This is what you said you wanted. Are you going to let this feeling of inadequacy stop you from things that you said you wanted? And that one success allowed me to build into another one and into another, and I started building momentum. But it was because I wasn't that good, as good as I thought I should have been when I stepped on the field. And it was just like, I asked myself the question all over again, all the time in the book, is this what you want to do? And yeah, you've been telling yourself since you were 4, this is what you want to do. Show up.
So do you remember the first time maybe you played, football in the street, or pickup football? I don't know what it's called, but like,
throw them up, bust them up.
Yeah, throw them up, bust them up. Like, do you have like a strong memory of like a game where it's like, I think I can do this? Or did you?
I did it throughout my childhood, I remember playing at St. Stephen's. They had an after school program. We would play out there all the time. And I would do pretty good. Anytime you throw me the ball, I had a pretty good chance of catching it. And then look, when I broke my ankle at Westlake, I was playing out on the tennis court because I couldn't play on the team. So I went out there before school and played on the tennis court, and I was killing people. I'm like, I ain't never played before. I'm out here killing people. This dude that's on the team out there playing with us too. I was like, I'm building confidence. And I broke my ankle. And I still kept playing.
Wow.
I didn't know I broke it. I just thought I tweaked my ankle. But
oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was like
it was a fracture.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, those memories, but I guess I had steps throughout my entire process where it gave me a little confidence enough to even step out there. One day, we all must make a decision. We can choose to be who the world tells us we are. Or we can listen to the being within us that knows no bounds. There you go. Choose you.
Just be you, and you'll be unique. You tryna be like him. You must.
Oh, there it is! There it is!
Take me through you trying out for the football team for Westlake. What was that experience like? Because as I mentioned before, well, Wallace, he couldn't play football. His mom wouldn't let him play football until he got to high school. That's the story that was told to me. You know.
So she wasn't gonna let me play at all.
Okay.
And
But y'all came to an agreement.
We came to an agreement.
Okay.
After I broke my ankle.
Yeah.
And she was pretty much like, he's gonna play. I might as well get some good grades out of this.
Yes.
So we made a bet that I would get, I want to say it was like all A's and B's or like a 3.5 GPA in my spring semester of my sophomore year. And I did that. The teachers gave me what I worked for, what I earned. And then I got a chance to play. And I'll never forget going into the locker room. And it was an 8th grader that came up. He came up to practice with us. So he wasn't playing that year. But he came to practice. And I'm looking at him put his pads on because I don't know how to put pads on. I'm watching him put his pads over his head, strap the right buckles in the right places, slide the pads in the pants. I have never done this. And I'm watching this kid who's 3 years younger than me do it so I can do it myself. So it was, like I said, it was a brand new space for me. And then I went out there, and I'll never forget this play. They actually put me at tight end in practice a few times in that summer. And Keontae Tripp, who ended up going to University of Georgia to play DN, I think he played a little tight end over there too. But he palmed my helmet, like grabbed my helmet and slung the top of my helmet and slung me on the ground. And I'm like, am I made for this? I'm not supposed to be getting ragdolled like this.
Yeah.
But I eventually learned that I'm a sucker for pain because I line right back up and get more. I mean, he's 270 and I'm 160.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
Whoa,
I said,
270 in high school?
Keontae was huge.
Wow.
Keontae played.
Was he like 6'5" or something?
6'6".
Okay, I think I remember him.
Keontae was huge. But yeah, I got destroyed. And I went out there and played receiver or practiced at receiver, getting locked up. It's a story in there about this guy AD who put me on the bench next to the water cooler. Like I just got destroyed all over the field. I wasn't used to the conditioning that we were doing. I wasn't used to all the weights we were lifting. I was just destroying my body really. But what I found out is I was building my mind. So it felt like I was getting beaten down, but I was building the resiliency to continue to show back up and take the beating until I was able to withstand it.
Yeah, I was, you kind of, jumped the gun from me. I was going to ask you about that AD experience, where you were, I guess, lining up, with him and he was a receiver and I guess you were the DB, right?
Nah, he was a DB and I was a receiver.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. You were the receiver And I guess talk to us about that moment. Like the reason why this is significant to me is because I'll let you go and explain it. Yeah.
So the AD story, and it's one of my favorites because people always talk about wannabes, and I realized I'm a wannabe, and I felt like in order to be, you have to want to be. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to be the best, and to be the best, you got to beat the best. And AD was probably the number 2 corner in the state of Georgia. Mm-hmm. Eric Berry was in the same class because I never put him over EB.
I was just talking about him the other day.
Yeah,
Eric Berry. Yeah.
But AD was number 2, and I called him out. I was like, "Hey, AD, I want you, AD." And he up there like, this little kick, because I'm the kicker. This little kicker, man. All right. And he came up and lined up.
What grade is this?
This is 11th grade.
11th grade, okay.
Yeah. So he came over, lined up. They hiked the ball, and it felt like Floyd Mayweather was tagging me. I mean, he just hit my shoulder, my chest, my head, everything. And then he latched on and just drove me to the sideline. And as if in a movie, it's a water cooler right here on the bench. He sat me down on the bench next to the water cooler. And in my head, thinking back on it, he was like, you look thirsty, little fella. Chill out. Mm-hmm. But in my mind, at 16 years old, I was like, nah, I want some more. I can't go out like this. And of course, I'm the kid that's like, no, let me go again. But I was like, I want you again. I don't want the next guy. I want you. I want to be back with the top guy, the first guy. Mm-hmm. And we went again. And this time he didn't put me next to the water cooler, but he did put his paws on me again. And I didn't have any success on that day at all. And I walked back to the back of the line, tail tucked between my legs. But what I loved about looking back at that guy is the next day, I did the same thing. Mm-hmm. I was a sucker for pain because in order to be the best, you have to beat the best, even if the best continues to beat you. Because one day is only going to come if you continue to show up. Mm-hmm. So I just kept showing up. And then one day I caught a pass on AD. And then one day I caught a pass on everybody else. And then the rest of the story continued.
Yeah. Like, I guess in those moments, like, what are you saying to kind of like keep that grit? Are you being fueled because one, he's kind of being loud and kind of saying you can't do this? I know for me, and I kind of know your personality.
He was quiet.
Okay.
He was quietly powerful in that moment. He didn't have to say much.
He didn't say much. Okay.
Yeah. He just was like, all right, I'll handle you, little man.
But didn't he say something about you gonna be sitting next to the water cooler, or
that's what I internalized.
Oh, so you were speaking for him inside of yourself. Wow.
Yeah. That's what it felt like he said to me.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
AD was humble, man.
Yeah. Did you feel at any time a little embarrassed and you needed to kind of like redeem yourself? That's what kind of kept you going, or was it just you and him? It didn't matter who else was on the field. You were going to just keep going regardless.
Both. I definitely felt embarrassed.
Cause I know that, that's happened to me sometimes where it's just like, man, he just punked me. I got to get up and do something else. I can't let him get away with that.
But I feel like you got two options to make in that situation is I can tuck my tail right now, or I can step back up. Yeah. And I was always trying to step back up. I mean, that same mentality took me into college and even in the pros. Like, just because you won this one don't mean it's over. Yeah. Until they tell me I can't be out here anymore, we're going to come on. Yeah. So that was my mentality. But at the same time, I was also like, I'm embarrassed. Mm-hmm. I gotta show myself that I can. Yeah. I got to show everybody else around me that I can. And my mind was like, as long as it takes.
So what did you learn about AD's skill set? Like, did you notice anything like, because I know in basketball, when you're playing defense on somebody, you kind of notice what their tendencies are. This person tends to go more left, or he goes right, or he does this similar crossover every single time. So were you able to pick up any like tendencies?
Over time.
Yeah. Okay.
Over time I was. AD was very strong and very fast. But he was fast linearly. So if you got him running, like you trying to run a go route, you're not going to run past AD. If you try to fight him at the line, he's too strong. So I learned to keep my space, but also make sure I run intermediate routes so I can get his speed going and then make an adjustment, cut it down, something to stop where I know I'm going to stop, and he may continue to run a little further.
Yeah, and this is the awareness that I was talking about.
Yeah,
You know, where you might be in an adverse situation, but you are continuously trying to learn in this moment so that you can get an advantage later on.
for sure.
You know, so all right. So so can you take us through the story of well, I'm not gonna go there. But what was your relationships with your high school coach? You know, what was that relationship like? You know, because I can just tell that with somebody as determined as you, that's willing to go up against the best, that is, you know, paying attention, learning every practice, and then still only be used as a kicker when you really wanted to do something else, that can create, you know, somewhat of a tension, you know, with the people who are in leadership, or you may feel that are controlling your destiny, stopping you from becoming who you think you can be. So what was your relationship with your coaches in high school?
It was awful.
That's simple.
It was terrible. Like, it was the only reason they probably kept me on the team was because I could kick.
Yeah.
And this is where my dad played a major role. I was working as hard as I could. Even one summer, the summer before my senior year, our number one receiver was ineligible. He couldn't do anything during the summer. And I took, from being the fourth or fifth receiver, I took the place of the number one receiver. And throughout the entire summer, I'm balling. Every camp we go to, I'm balling. And then when he comes back, not get pushed to number 2, not get pushed to 3, I get pushed to 5 again.
Oh, wow.
So
that didn't make sense.
At all.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm balling.
Yeah.
But I developed a hate for my coaches. But my dad came to me one day and he was like, this is the hardest thing you've ever had to face in your life to this point. And it was more of a mental battle than anything physical. He was like, you're going to have to show up every day, practice as hard as you know you need to, and just be ready for the opportunity. It may come, it may never come, but you won't be ready for it if you don't take care of each of these days in between. And he had to tell me that probably 4 or 5 times, but I continue to just show up every day. And I'm the kicker, but I'm down there with the receivers. I'm staying after practice running routes. So everything it took that I thought I needed to do to get on the field as a receiver, I was doing. And then show up on game day and I'm the kicker. So his leadership kind of showed me patience and also awareness of the bigger picture. Yeah. Because it wasn't necessarily about you trying to play this Friday. You don't know when your opportunity is going to come, but are you going to be ready for it? And the only way to be ready for it is to put in the work every day. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to love what you're doing to continue to keep going through that, you know, day after day. So, and it definitely does help to have somebody who's a little bit more aware that, like you said, can show you that big picture.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when you keep going through what you perceive as rejection day after day, it's easy to kind of lose that momentum and motivation. And then eventually just get to, I'm just, you know, that opportunity just seems like forever away.
Yeah.
So you might not quit, but you might get lazy in your routine and your practice. So then when your opportunity does come, when you know, and you weren't expecting it to come, you are not ready for it.
For sure.
You know, so it definitely, that's good to have, you know, your father or somebody in your corner, you know, when no one else is kind of like, you know, looking at you for that, to have that person in your corner to just remind you that, hey, one day an opportunity will come and it's on you to be ready for it.
Yeah.
So, you know, all these little, you know, practices and, you know, it may seem like it's,
A waste
doesn't
of
have much.
time.
Yeah, a waste of time,
Yeah.
worthless. But just understand the time will come, just like when you had moved up to number one receiver.
Yeah.
You know.
I'll also add from that time in my life is see how important the little wins are. Because though I wasn't getting a chance to play on Friday night, every day in practice like I told you, I started catching the ball on everybody. And that continued to help me show up with energy and intensity because I'm going to win today. This is my chance to play. This is my chance to win. I'm going to do it. And every day, I mean, it might be 2 catches. It might be 10. But as long as if I pay attention and appreciate those little wins, it continues to help you show up tomorrow. Even though it's not the big splash that you're looking for, those little wins help you stay in the process.
I agree. So, another interesting, something interesting that I noticed in the book is that you were pretty open and vulnerable, and some aspects of your life, and I find that commendable because in this society today, men are kind of taught to, or we feel, I'm not gonna say we've been taught, but we feel like we can't really express and be honest about the struggles that we may go through. What pushed you to kind of just be open and honest like that in this book?
So I wrote this book 3 times. So I wrote it as a story, like bullet points. I wrote it with more detail. And then I wrote it from emotion and perspective. And the thing that drove me to be more open was actually marriage. It was, everybody always tells you marriage is hard. But when you want to go into detail of like what was hard, people want to get surface. They want to give you a generic, well, yeah, it was a tough year for business. Everybody has a tough year for business. Like, what happened to you? Did you expect a check from a company and they didn't deliver the check? They pretty much stole your business from you, stole the work from you and didn't pay you. How did you survive that? Like, those are the things that I wanted to know about marriage.
Yeah, I'm asking because I want counsel. I'm looking for some direction.
Right.
And you can't lead me anywhere if you just keep giving me these surface answers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in my evaluation of what I felt like I was given during marriage, I felt like I'm the big brother giving this knowledge to a little brother.
Yeah. This is what you wanted if you were.
Yeah. For sure. What's the book? What's Will Hill's book? Letters to a Young Brother.
Yeah.
So he was opening the door to tell his younger brothers, me as well, hey, this is what you can look forward to. This is what happened. Will talks about getting an STD, like be open and vulnerable. I'm like, I can really connect to that.
Yeah. And
I want the person that reads this book at a young age to connect to, like, this is real life. This ain't just, hey, I showed up, I was the greatest thing ever, and then every coach in the nation wanted me, and then I got a scholarship, and then I got drafted, and then blah. Nah, bro, like, this is tough.
Yeah, you can't learn from that.
Exactly.
And I'm gonna walk away looking at you like, oh, well, that person's special.
Life. Yeah.
Yeah. What? I can't do anything with that. You're just special.
Yeah. So I wanted to be open to that young man, to myself, because I at times I'd say I wrote this book for me, but I wrote it for the 16-year-old version of myself, the 18, the 21-year-old version of myself, to let them know this is what you're going to experience. This is how I handled it, and this is how I see it. They may not be the same, because there's some instances I thought I was doing the right thing at 20 years old, and I look back on it, I'm like, I should have handled that differently. And I wanted to give both of those to that guy, to know that, hey, you might feel a certain way at this age, but here's a different perspective. Look at it like this. You might make the same decision, but now you got another option in your toolbox.
Yeah, so there's one thing of writing those things down, and then there's another thing of having it out and it's being consumed by friends, family members, and the world. So what was that experience like?
Oh, man, it's still tough. It is still tough to this day, and this book has been out for over a year.
Are you praying that niggas don't read? I'm joking.
I mean, honestly, that's kind of why I was committed to writing a book, because there's a stigma that we don't read.
Yeah.
And I wanted to possibly give a young man somewhere something that he might enjoy, that he might learn. And I wanted him to have a resource. And then hopefully it's information in these books that could change my life, change my perspective, give me opportunity. And he go out in his search to find other books. So I was committed to finishing this book for that young man to maybe possibly think, hey, it might be something for this in this reading thing. Let me start doing it more.
Yeah. So the purpose is to introduce guys into, reading and, seeing that there can be a joy in it and I can learn from it. I can get honest advice. And then also in terms of just, people getting a closer look at your life, you just learn to kind of just adapt.
I had to just make a choice and say that's what it's going to take.
That's just going to take.
Yeah, because
that's true.
It definitely was tough to just say, hey, this is what happened in my life. It ain't the prettiest.
Yeah.
But just keeping in my mind that, and they always say the cliche of it can help one person. What if that one person would have been me?
Yeah.
Like, that's how I kept putting it in my mind. I'm like, I got to put it out. I got to give that person the opportunity to read and learn, and then give them opportunity further in their life.
Yeah. And I think for me, and I have a pretty good relationship with the older generation, but sometimes I would like for them to be a little bit more honest about some of their setbacks. It seems like parents or just older people in general, they want to maintain that I'm up here, I'm Mr.
Yeah.
Don't call me by my first name. And I can respect that. That's manners. Growing up in the South, you learn to call Mr., Mrs. But sometimes I do want you to kind of come off that pedestal and just tell me what it's like, or tell me the truth about something. Say that, hey, I struggle with this, or, I haven't yet figured this out, but I'm getting through it, or whatever you want to say. But sometimes I feel like the disconnect that the older generation has with the new is they come across as somewhat preachy, like, and even when it comes down to music, like there's something to be learned from all different types of experiences.
For sure.
And of course, there is that fine line of, oh, well, this person is just bragging too much about the negative. They're making it seem like that is the life.
Yeah.
But then also, you could learn something from the negativity. You can, good music is where they talk about the negative. They talk about, what they've learned from the negativity, whether it be the consequences of that. There's the highs and the lows.
Right.
When they go through that whole cycle, that's when you can say, oh, this is some pretty good content. This is some good music here. But I think, and I'm pretty sure as I get older and I have to look my son and my daughter in the eyes, I'll understand what it feels like to want to maintain that separation,
I feel like at some point, and I don't know if it's just been passed down, that the transition from father son, mother daughter, father daughter becomes mentor mentee.
Yeah.
And it's not really I'm your authority figure anymore. I'm a person that's experienced, and I can share what I've experienced to lead you, help lead you through your life. And to me, a mentor is gonna open up and tell me the realest things that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
A father in society is just gonna be the authority.
Yeah.
But at some point, at a certain age, it becomes I'm just your mentor. I'm a resource for information, because you're gonna live your life, but I'm here to give you as much information as I've learned through mine.
So in terms of parents, do you feel comfortable enough to just ask your parents any and everything that you can think of about the world?
No.
Is it because you're afraid of the answer you might get back, or is it just like you know, it's you still kind of battle with that mother, son,
It's
father, son.
It's the battle. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, my parents probably haven't seen me curse unless they watch a video of mine.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm still their son.
Yeah.
And I am.
You always do that.
But I feel like you can curse and still be respectful.
Yeah.
But I just won't do it around them.
Yeah.
And it's just the way it was. It's certain topics that if it pop up on TV, I'll change the channel because I know my mother probably, she might does want to see it.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
you feel uncomfortable just looking at. I'm in the room with it, looking at. Yeah.
So I still have some uncomfortability in being truly transparent and open with my parents. And I think it's actually been a hindrance.
Yeah.
It's been some things I probably could have reached out and been open to them about. The fact that I got a young lady pregnant in college. Like, the only conversation I had with my pops about sex growing up was if you have sex with a woman, you're having sex with every person she's had sex with. And
that sounds like they were trying to scare you out of having sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was protect yourself at all times. Wear a condom.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
He didn't teach you how to stroke?
No. No. And look, I just talked to a couple of my partners. Like, they was like, they didn't tell you how to stroke. No.
Yeah.
Nothing. We ain't talking about
that's
sex.
true. That's true. That's true.
They was like, you should have listened to some music. They would have taught you. I'm like,
but I think a lot of guys kind of, you know, deal with that. You know, back to what you were talking about, just the relationship between, you know, your parents. Like, not anymore, but I used to have a problem with like drinking in front of my parents. Like, that was a thing. It's like, you know, so just trying to have a closer relationship, I think for me, it's kind of like double dutch, where it's like maybe they're waiting, we're kind of like going like this for a while, and where you should just jump in and kind of just do it. But it's kind of like, I guess both of us are trying to protect our image to some degree.
For sure.
You know, especially when your parents look at you as a pretty decent person. You know,
you look at them as a pretty decent person.
Yeah, you look at them as decent people as well. They probably don't want to put what they think is the bad on the table and then just tank the, you know.
Man, I remember, and I'll tell this about my dad. I remember when I was, I guess, moving into high school, and they, you know, weed is a thing in high school.
Yeah.
And I asked him about it, and he was like, I never smoked weed. And then somehow it came up with my grandmother.
Yeah.
And she was like, your dad was a pothead.
Was he there when she said it?
No.
Oh.
And I went back in.
You confronted him?
I was like, Grandmommy said.
Wow, that's the type of kid you was.
I was joking. I was like trying to be a jerk. But yeah, I was like, but that's an instance like he could have told me a little bit more about weed.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't have went out into a party at 15 years old and got shotgunned by somebody with something that I didn't know what I was smoking.
Yeah, but I also kind of understand the reservation to it, because let's just say that he says that he was a pothead, and the only reason why he stopped was like he felt he needed to grow up. On some level, you might feel like, well, my dad did it, so let me just go in. There's a fine line between, am I encouraging them to do it, or...
But that's in how you deliver, because, I mean, the story could have been, I was doing it, my best friend, somebody laced something with him, and he was never the same.
But what if that's not the story? What if the story was, I only stopped because I had to?
But we never know.
Yeah, you're right.
And then he could tell me, all right, you need to... this type of weed can do this. I didn't know what indica and
I don't think that generation knows what that's recent.
Yeah, they call it reefer.
Yeah, they only know reefer. That is exactly what they call it.
But
what
if he didn't? We never know, because we never stepped into that conversation. He probably could have told me, yo, this is gonna affect you. When I play sports, it affected me this type of way. Yeah. And it kind of slowed my cognitive down, and it really hindered me when I went into school. Like it could have been that conversation, but we just never have it.
Yeah, that is true. Like I want to be that parent to be able to have those conversations, you know, whether it's about drugs, whether it's about sex. Even if I have a daughter, I want to be able to have that type of relationship where we can talk about those things, because when she starts dating, I don't want her to have to just hide it from me.
Yeah.
And, you know, she doesn't feel comfortable to go and tell me things that she thinks is a problem because she doesn't want me to get upset, or whatnot. So I do want that relationship, but I guess
or you want them to be prepared for situations when you're not there.
yeah, you want them to be prepared. But I guess I'm also kind of acknowledging that I can understand how there's a little bit of hesitation, little reservation
For
there.
sure.
It's not an easy job. Like as a child looking at some of these things, you're only looking at it from a limited perspective.
Yep.
It's like, I want to know this, or, you should be doing this because you are my mother, father, you're Superman, Superwoman in my mind, but
that's
as
where
I'm growing up,
that's where the wisdom of a wider lens, a wider perspective should be able to disseminate knowledge to help me see a bigger picture.
yeah.
So yeah, it might not just be a one-off story that you tell me. It might be a continual conversation that we have. I start talking about sex. Oh shit, let me think about how he processed when he started wanting to have sex, and then he started to date girls. I didn't know how to talk to girls.
Yeah.
Like talk to how are you approaching this girl. Like it could generate so much more, but all it's doing is creating connection.
Yeah.
And if we don't have those conversations, I mean, you're just hoping for connection, because I'm gonna go off and live my life.
You're leaving that person to go and figure out on their own, and they could come up with some horrible ways
Results.
of doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is true. That's very true. Okay. So going back to the book, I think the climax of the book to me, or one of the climax of the book to me, is when you decided that I'm no longer going to be a kicker. I'm deciding that I'm going to be a wide receiver. And in my mind, I took it as I'm going to be a wide receiver or die trying.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah. And so take me through that story of when you were in college. And it's a very interesting story, when you made that decision that, hey, I'm no longer going to be the kicker.
So the event happened on my first day of practice, but I had already made my mind up probably about a month before. And when I finally got the letter from A&T that they were going to allow me to come to summer camp as a preferred walk-on, my mind got to racing. It was crazy because I was preparing that I was going to be a receiver. Mm-hmm. I just knew I was going to A&T. I was running from the train. I was training with some pros. I was lifting weights. I was doing whatever it took to be prepared. And then they sent the letter, and I didn't have to get ready because I was already ready. Mm-hmm. But once I got the letter and I knew I was going for camp, we had to get some cleats. So I talked my parents into getting me, of course we were going to get some soccer cleats so I could kick in them. But I talked them into getting me a second pair of cleats, the old school super bads that T.O. used to wear, as a second pair of cleats for me to play receiver. And the first day of practice, I never forget, it was the first time I ever heard Coach Rags. He was our running backs coach. He come in there in the locker room. He'd be like, "It's morning time." And me, I just turned 18 like 2 days before. I'm like, it's time to go. Mm-hmm. So I grabbed all my stuff. I grabbed my soccer cleats. I grabbed my football cleats. And I'm outside before everybody. Because I thought when he said that, it was time to go outside. So I'm outside by myself for like 15, 20 minutes. Mm. And I'm just like, how am I going to do this? I got to kick. Mm. And I was like, I started thinking, and I thought about Joe Horn, old New Orleans Saints receiver. He hit a cell phone underneath of the goalpost pad in the end zone. And I was like, I'm going to hide my shoes under there. Mm. So I hid my shoes underneath the goalpost pad. Everybody comes out, and nobody knows what's going on but me. And I think I'm scheming. We go through the kicking session, and after kicking, the head coach screams, "Individuals." Individuals means all the position groups go to their separate corners of the field and start doing individual drills to help them develop their specific skill set. Mm-hmm. So I go over to the goalpost pad, leave the kickers, and I take a knee next to that goalpost pad, and I start changing my cleats. I changed the soccer cleats to football cleats. And in my mind, I was changing myself from a kicker to the person I thought I was supposed to be, a receiver. I changed my cleats, stood up. I make it, I guess, picturesque in the book about changing my stars, changing my fate, my future. And I ran over and got in the line. And one of my partners, I was at homecoming this weekend. And one of my partners was like, yeah, I remember you ran over there. And Coach Vincent was like, what you doing, boy? And that was our receiver coach. And I was like, I'm good, coach. I'm straight. I just jumped in line and started running the drills. And he threw me the ball at the end of the drill. And that was like the welcome. That was like the handshake to say, welcome into who you are. Welcome into who you believe you are. And from that day forward, I would go over there and kick and then run over to the receivers. And eventually I stopped switching cleats. I was just kicking my football cleats and hope for the best. But I knew where I was going. And things just kind of went the right way. It's hilarious in life and how like some of your biggest failures or what you feel like is a failure. I was losing to AD every day in practice. AD ended up going to South Carolina. SEC school, South Carolina was balling back then. Nobody I'm going to face at A&T is AD. So I started excelling quickly. Him destroying me was my preparation to excel in a different space. And I realized that, and then people start getting hurt. In camp, it always happens. And some upperclassmen start getting hurt. So I went from running with the 3s, barely getting any reps, to running with the 1s in 2 weeks. I'm with the number 1 team getting ready to play Winston-Salem State. And then everybody starts coming back. Everybody starts coming back from injury. Kind of like when the number 1 receiver at Westlake came back. But this time they didn't demote me immediately, but I started to feel the pressure. I wasn't mentally strong enough to withstand them coming back and school starting. So now I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing in school. I'm trying to be the best receiver. It's not like they were going to gift it to me. So I started to line up wrong. I ran a few plays wrong. I dropped a few passes. And it was almost like they was like, yeah, he's not ready. So I ended up getting redshirted. But I still owe, like to this day, anytime I see AD, I'll pay homage because those losses he gave me were the preparation I needed to even have the confidence to start moving through the college ranks.
So have you told that story to, like, I guess the head coach or the wide receiver coach since you kind of graduated and, you know, going on, like what was going through your mind and how you were hoping that they wouldn't say anything as you went from the kicker huddle to the receiver huddle? Like, have you talked to them about it? I had a conversation with them.
I talked to the receiver coach because he ended up being the bane of my existence my freshman year. But yeah, after years of kind of toiling through, trying to not to hate him, because eventually it was a day that he called and he literally took the jersey off my back, the jersey I had earned, took it off my back and gave it to another person.
Oh, dang.
And he constantly, the dude I was talking to this weekend remembered how much he said I was terrible. We went through, at the end of every semester, you go through with your coaches and they tell you, they grade you. And he was like catching 40, speed 30, strength 30. Like everything was just bad. And all I heard was, bro,
out of 100?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it was probably like 4 out of 10. But yeah, everything was out of 10. And he was giving me 40%, 30%, 50%. So all I heard was, you suck. But what I realized, maybe he saw it in me, was the same reaction I had to when AD put me on the bench. It was the same reaction I had when I showed back up the next summer.
Yeah.
I'm about to show you. I'm a sucker for this. You don't have to tell me this every day. I'm about to show up to everybody, and every day I'm going to destroy whatever's in front of me. And if I don't, I'm going to show up tomorrow. Yeah. And I don't know if he saw that in me, but we talked later on in life, and he was like, yeah, I knew you had to be pushed. I couldn't tell you were great from day one.
So, like, throughout this whole book, like, what have you learned about yourself when you're faced with adversity? Like, because it seems like this whole book, this is the road less traveled. You know, you had to carve your way. You had to have strong belief in yourself. And it seems like when you know, things are counting you out, you know, you don't give up, you know, like, and there's several different instances in the book where you kind of just rise to the challenge. You know, what do you think about that? Or like,
I think back to another thing that my dad used to say, and he always said, life is a process, not an event. So this moment happened, but it's just part of the process. And if this is what you say you want to do, and that's why I ask myself the question over and over again, if this is what you say you want to do, this negative moment, it's a part in the book where I literally got the snot knocked out of me. It's snot on both of my eyebrows.
Yeah.
Do you still want to do this? It's just a hit in my process. And that's how I operate. If I decide I want to do it wholeheartedly, the negative things are just part of the process.
What is the truth that you've learned about adversity?
I had a friend of mine. He was actually the captain of the team when I got to A&T, and he kind of personified adversity as a lifelong combatant.
A lifelong comeback?
A lifelong combatant.
Oh, combatant. Okay.
Yeah. So it's almost like a person that you're fighting.
Yeah.
But you have to alter your mind instead of adversity fighting against you, he's fighting for you.
Yeah.
He's strengthening. They talk about iron sharpens iron. Adversity is sharpening you.
Yeah.
For whatever's coming next in your life, to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
And if you accept that it's fighting for you, then it doesn't take you down mentally, emotionally as hard as some people get taken down.
Yeah.
So to me, adversity is just the opportunity to get better, to get stronger.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of the difficult moments at each stage in your process or in this journey, like that adversity, it kind of gave you a new weapon or a new talent or a new skill.
Yeah.
You know, so
and I carry that into my life now. Like I work in construction. I never saw myself there, but I'm faced with adversity on a constant basis. But what I realize is once I am able to overcome this moment, now I've got a new skill. I know where to go in the city of Atlanta to go in and get some permits done, or I know how to talk through a difficult conversation to make sure that both parties leave on a comfortable basis to continue business. But if you owe us money or we owe you money and it needs to be a tough conversation, we got to have it. Once I do that, I got a new skill. And I continue to find different areas like that in my entire life. And it's at home with my wife. In every situation, the book, the beginning of my life just kind of gave me opened my eyes to see it and gave me the opportunity to realize that's what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something else that I really enjoyed learning about you in this book is that that these challenges that we have in our life or adversity is more like wisdom disguised as as challenge.
Yeah.
Wisdom disguised as challenge. And if you can just see your way through it, you know, eventually you will get something out of that situation.
For sure.
You know, sometimes what you get out of the situation may not be exactly what you were expecting in the beginning, but you will walk away from that situation with more than what you had in the beginning if you could just see it through. You know?
I mean, it goes back to as minor as me playing soccer. Like I never wanted to play soccer until I got in it. But what I realized is like I played baseball, my hand-eye coordination was stimulated as a child, as a young man. I played soccer, my agility, my quickness, my footwork was stimulated as a young man. So by the time I finally got to where I wanted to be, I had the foundation to be something okay. And I had to take it and become something great with it. But those places that I didn't necessarily want to be, because I wanted to be a football player since I was 4.
Yeah.
But just going to play baseball, going to play soccer, it gave me talents and skills. Shoot, soccer gave me the talent to kick. Kick got me into college. I didn't want to do any of that.
Yeah.
But those things allowed me to get to the place that I really wanted to be. And the preparation that I had on that path, I was ready for my moment.
Yeah. Wow. So just think about it. What if you never played soccer and let's say you put all your energy into like baseball or you put it all into like basketball? Soccer was your way to kind of get into the football space so you could get the opportunity. You could even be seen.
For sure.
You know, just
because I probably don't even make the team if I'm just if I'm just a receiver when I got to Westlake.
That's what made you valuable to them.
Exactly. That's what kept me there.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you didn't have that, then maybe this, you know, who knows where it could end up. I mean, I'm sure you have the same determination, but it seems like especially in high school, they weren't willing to give you that opportunity to play on the field. So you would have just been just a guy on the bench.
Or not on the team.
Or not on the team.
Yeah.
Or not on the team.
Because kicking gave me a reason for them to keep me around. Because I might have had an attitude.
Yeah.
And if I'm not the kicker, they kick me off the team. I don't need this attitude around here.
Yeah.
But he's a kicker. I need him here.
Yeah.
But them needing me here gave me every day in practice I had to get better as a receiver against AD.
Yeah. So as we kind of like wind down with the book, I would like to ask, I guess one of my final question, what would you want? I remember you saying that you're expecting like 16, 17, 18-year-old young men to, probably gravitate towards this book. What would you want them to kind of walk away after, reading this? What's one lesson you probably want them to walk away with?
Definitely want them to walk away with quite a few.
Yeah.
But that word about process, it's major in life. And realizing that how you feel right now or the event that's happening right now is not the end all be all. It's just a part of who you can become. And if you utilize your great moments as well as your negative moments, all that it is building your steps on your mountain to get to the top to who you want to be. And if you understand that, no matter what direction you decide to go, sports, academia, whatever, if you want to drop out and start a business, understand that it's process. You don't just teleport to the top of the mountain. You have to take those steps. And you might slip and fall. But now I know this isn't the path that I need to take. Maybe I need to reroute.
Mm-hmm.
But understand all of that is teaching. Maybe I need to step differently when I get to this spot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just understand that your life is a process. And it always will be that. You're going to get to the top of your mountain and realize that it's the foothills of an even greater mountain. And then now I got to take those steps. But what I want them to remember is, like, you've already shown yourself, I know how to climb. Now I might just need to learn a few more techniques to get up this mountain. But I know how to climb. And that's to me, that's all life is. A set of different mountains that become foothills to a bigger mountain.
Mm-hmm.
But we just have to understand that it's a process to get to the top of anything. And once you get into the top, realize you've learned so much and that you can do more.
Well, Wallace, this was a great conversation. I will say, as you can tell by the conversation, there's a lot to be gained from this book. I learned a lot in this book. I learned a lot about how he thinks and processes things. There's certain things that I can relate to, certain things that's like, wow, I didn't know he had that. And those are things that I can definitely learn from. But the lesson about process, and once you kind of, like you said, overcome, or you reach the top of one hill and you have that success under your belt, a larger mountain or the next hill doesn't seem as bad because you're doing the same steps. It just may be for a longer period. It's an endurance challenge then.
For sure.
So once you are able to see something through, you always have what I call a spiritual trophy. You have that memory in your mind that I can achieve this. Yeah. So when you go into the next thing, it's like, okay, I'm not starting from ground zero. I have some tools, and I'm going to gain some more tools on this journey, but I have some tools to get me through. And so this book was really good. This is honestly, I believe this is a book that, if you're a guy into sports, or if you're just a guy that's just, looking for a good novel about a man who had a dream and was able to achieve that because you're trying to embark on something large in life, I think that you would gain a lot from this book, so. Like
I said, man, I appreciate you being able to genuinely say that, because like I told you, I mean, it's been 10 years since I started now. When I started, I couldn't have imagined even finishing. I couldn't have imagined putting what I did put into this book. And then for somebody to be able to take something from it, to like it, enjoy it, and want to understand that it's valuable to another person, it means a ton to me and my process.
Oh yeah, like look at my book. Like, look at all the notes that I got in my book, all the highlights.
I see.
I don't know if y'all can see, but I got, just lots of
See, it's
lot of stuff.
a lot of nuggets in there.
Yeah, a lot of stuff that I highlighted in the book, But yeah, everybody, you can get the book. And also, so if you're in Atlanta, you can get this book at Madu Bookstore, which is inside of Greenbrier Mall. Recently, he got a few copies there in that location. And then I know recently he just I guess he made the book on audio.
I released the audiobook.
You released the audio book,
And
so
look, that was a process in itself.
yeah.
That pulled a different piece of me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so we got two versions. You can either order online or you can go to Madu Books, or you can get it
on Audible.
Audible.
You can get it at changeyourcleats.com. You can get it off of Amazon. You can go to Madu Bookstore, or you can get it off of Audible. And like me, I'm not really a reader sitting around in the back of the house and read. I'm a listener. And that's why I did the audiobook, is because I know with life moving around and everything we got to do, sometimes the only time we have to take in information is in the car as we drive around. So I made the audiobook so you can still receive the messages in this book. And I'd love, once you get a chance to go through it, however it works for you, leave a comment, leave some feedback. Honestly, if you don't like it, let me know, because I do want to continue to write and step into this space, and I want to be better for my readers. I want to be able to deliver the message in a way that really connects with you. And if you feel like there's ways that I can improve, let me know. I definitely will take them into consideration as I continue down this space. Okay,
and I know you said the website, but do you have social media and all that stuff?
Yeah, you can follow me at Change Your Cleats. You can follow me at Wallace J Miles. Also, I started another podcast with another group of guys, just really on the same kick of getting information, communicating, and continuing to grow, called Dropping Dimes. You can follow me right here at Just 10 Pages. All these platforms is just with a goal to continue to help me grow, but we grow. That's my thing, is as I continue to gain information, I want to communicate with my community, my family, so we can continue to gain information.
All right, Wallace. So yeah, y'all heard Wallace. Make sure y'all go and get the book. But also to my Just 10 Pages audience, if you are interested in joining the group, I much more prefer you to hit me up on my personal social media, BY Zikomo, Zikomo, or you can go to Just 10 Pages, just the number 10 pages. But if you're interested in joining the book club, that's where you can hit me up and we can add you to the group. But this was a great conversation, and I look forward to the next one. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, family.
All right, peace.
Peace. My man.
Yeah. On the top floor. On the top floor. On the top floor.